Early life and rise to power. Nero was born in 37 AD to Agrippina the Younger, a member of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. His early life was filled with political intrigue and manipulation. Agrippina married Emperor Claudius, and through her influence, Nero was adopted as his heir. Seneca began tutoring Nero when Nero was around 12 years old. This appointment was orchestrated by Nero's mother, Agrippina the Younger, who sought to secure her son's position as the future emperor. Agrippina believed that Seneca, with his Stoic philosophy and intellectual prowess, would be an ideal mentor to guide Nero and shape him into a wise and virtuous ruler. At the age of 17, Nero ascended to the throne after Claudius's suspicious death, widely believed to have been orchestrated by Agrippina herself. Destruction of Rome. Nero's reign was characterized by extreme cruelty. One of his most infamous acts was the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD. While the city burned for 6 days, Nero was said to have played the lyre and sung about the destruction of Troy. Although the exact cause of the fire remains unknown, many believe Nero started it to clear land for his grandiose palace, the Domus Aurea. In the aftermath, he blamed the Christians, leading to their brutal persecution, murder of family members. Nero's cruelty extended to his own family. He ordered the murder of his mother, Agrippina, after their relationship soured. According to historical accounts, Nero initially tried to kill her by sinking her ship, but when she survived, he resorted to having her executed. His first wife, Claudia Octavia, was also a victim of his brutality. After accusing her of adultery, he had her banished and later executed. His second wife, Poppaea Sabina, met a tragic end when Nero allegedly kicked her to death while she was pregnant. Extravagance and debauchery. Nero's lavish lifestyle knew no bounds. Lavish lifestyle and extravagant spending drained the Roman treasury. He spent vast sums on extravagant parties, theatrical performances, and even participated in chariot races. His self-indulgence was a stark contrast to the Stoic principles of moderation and self-control. He built the Domus Aurea, or Golden House, a sprawling palace complex featuring artificial lakes, lush gardens, and a colossal statue of himself. His self-indulgence and wasteful spending were a stark contrast to the Stoic principles of moderation and self-control. Persecution of Christians. Nero is infamous for his brutal persecution of Christians. After the Great Fire of Rome, he blamed the Christians and subjected them to horrific tortures. Many were crucified, torn apart by dogs, or burned alive to serve as human torches in his gardens. Public executions and tortures. Nero's reign was marked by numerous public executions and tortures. He was known to poison, behead, stab, burn, boil, crucify, and impale people. He often raped women and mutilated both men and women. His cruelty knew no bounds, and he took pleasure in the suffering of others. Sadistic entertainment. Nero entertained himself by wandering the city in disguise, stabbing people and throwing their bodies into the sewers. He also competed in various public games and performances, often rigging the outcomes in his favor. His participation in these events was seen as unbecoming of an emperor and further alienated the Roman elite. Execution of rivals. Nero eliminated anyone he perceived as a threat to his power. He poisoned his stepbrother Britannicus to secure his position as emperor. He also executed his aunt, stepsister, and other close relatives to eliminate potential rivals. Connection with Seneca. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, was Nero's tutor and advisor. Despite his efforts to instill Stoic virtues in Nero, the emperor's actions were a direct contradiction to Stoic teachings. Seneca's writings often reflect his struggle to reconcile his philosophy with the reality of Nero's reign. In his letters, Seneca emphasizes the importance of virtue, wisdom, and self-control, qualities that Nero sorely lacked. Seneca's influence and downfall. Seneca's influence on Nero was significant and was relatively positive during the early years of his reign. Under Seneca's guidance, Nero initially showed promise as a ruler, implementing policies that benefited the public. His increasing indulgence in cruelty, extravagance, and debauchery clashed with Seneca's Stoic teachings. Seneca's influence waned as Nero's darker tendencies emerged, and his behavior became more erratic and tyrannical. Despite Seneca's efforts to steer Nero towards virtue, the emperor's actions grew increasingly cruel and self-indulgent. Seneca found himself in a precarious position, trying to balance his philosophical principles with the demands of serving a despotic ruler. The major turning point came when Nero orchestrated the murder of his mother, Agrippina, in 59 AD. This act of matricide deeply troubled Seneca and marked the beginning of the deterioration of their relationship. Eventually, Seneca was implicated in a conspiracy against Nero, which he likely was innocent of, and was forced to commit suicide. His death marked the end of any hope for a virtuous influence on Nero's reign. Nero's rejection of Stoic values. Nero's rejection of Stoic values can be attributed to several factors. 1. Personal indulgence. Nero's personality was inclined towards excess and self-indulgence. He reveled in luxury, extravagant parties, and theatrical performances, which were in direct opposition to the Stoic principles of moderation and self-control. 2. Power and corruption. As emperor, Nero wielded absolute power, which often leads to corruption. The allure of unchecked authority and the ability to act without consequence further distanced him from Stoic virtues such as justice, wisdom, and temperance. 3. Influence of court intrigue. The Roman court was rife with intrigue, manipulation, and betrayal. Nero's environment was not conducive to the practice of Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes rationality and virtue. The constant power struggles and conspiracies likely influenced Nero's behavior and decisions. 4. Seneca's limited influence. Despite Seneca's efforts, he could not fully counteract the negative influences surrounding Nero. The philosopher's attempts to guide Nero were often undermined by other advisors and Nero's own inclinations. Nero's death. Nero's reign came to a tumultuous end in 68 AD. Facing multiple revolts and declared a public enemy by the Senate, Nero fled Rome. Realizing that his capture was imminent, Nero chose to take his own life. On June 9, 68 AD, with the assistance of his secretary, Epaphroditos, Nero committed suicide by exsanguination, bleeding out. His last words were reportedly, "Qualis artifex pereo," which translates to, "What an artist dies in me." Stoic perspective. From a Stoic perspective, Nero's reign is a powerful example of how unchecked power and lack of virtue can lead to moral decay. Seneca's quote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor," highlights the emptiness of Nero's pursuits. The Stoics believed in living in accordance with nature and reason, virtues that Nero blatantly disregarded. Lessons from Nero's reign. Nero's reign serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of absolute power and the importance of virtue. By examining his life through the lens of Stoicism, we can gain valuable insights into the human condition and the timeless relevance of Stoic principles. The contrast between Nero's excesses and the Stoic ideals of moderation and self-discipline offers a profound lesson on the consequences of living without moral restraint. Conclusion. Nero's legacy is one of cruelty, excess, and moral decay. His reign stands as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power, excess, and the tragic consequences of a ruler's actions. It also highlights the importance of virtue. By reflecting on Nero's life and his relationship with Seneca, we can better understand the enduring wisdom of Stoic philosophy and its relevance to our own lives today.